Hey everyone, it's day 35 and we heard Bill 474, which means that nearly 500 bills have gone through the House of Representatives and not even a small portion of those have made it through the Senate yet. So what's going to happen is that all of the House bills have to be through the House committees and through the House of Representatives by next Friday, and all of the Senate bills have to be through their process by next Friday, and then the bills get flip-flopped between the two houses. That's called transmittal. So that means that any House bills that haven't been heard in committee that need to make it through the process have to be heard in committee by the end of this week. So instead of hearing 2 and 3 bills per committee, we're hearing between 5 and 7 bills in each committee. In Business and Labor this morning, we heard 5 bills, and they were on a wide range of topics, from gap insurance to establishing a state bank to prevailing wage laws. We took executive action on 5 bills also, I think, and it was so funny. We had this House Bill 405, which makes it illegal for you or I to carry a bottle of wine or a beer into a restaurant that doesn't have a liquor license. And there are a few representatives on Business and Labor who just absolutely vote for restricting alcohol or against any alcohol bills because of their religious affiliation and their faith. And so one of those voted against this bill that clearly restricts alcohol consumption. And I was so surprised. I said, "Why'd you do that?" And he said, "I'm against alcohol, and this bill is for letting people bring alcohol into these restaurants." He was so wrong about the bill that I didn't even know what to say to him. I said, "No, that's literally the opposite of what the bill says. I think you probably want to reverse your vote." And I was just trying to be friendly to him. I was really surprised, and I wonder how often that happens, that someone literally thinks the bill says it means the opposite of what it actually says. I had a ton of meetings today with folks with information and interest in bills that I'm carrying. So I met with the Contractors Association about the Hire Montanans First Act that's going to be in Business and Labor at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning. So it'd be great if you could email the committee or call your representative and tell them that you support the Hire Montanans First Act. I spent probably an hour with some different lobbyists, and especially the tow truck drivers, about it's actually a Republican representative's bill, and she's had a tragedy in her family and is unable to be in the legislature, but it's so similar to a bill that I had tabled in committee, so I'm working on it for her, and I'm actually going to carry it and bring it to committee. I met with a union guy that I was hoping would support the Hire Montanans First Act, but he told me because I did not vote for the coal resolution, he is not going to help me, and he does not care at all whether they hire Montana people for Montana jobs. It's like the last thing that he's worried about. Okay. The floor today, really the entire Capitol, was a zoo. I literally was hearing circus music in my head. It was the state pay plan day of action, and clearly I support the state pay plan. It's House Bill 14, and we should be hearing it soon. I wasn't even really able to attend their entire rally because there's so much going on trying to get these last bills going through. There was the Idle No More round dance and rally today, another cause that I really support, and wasn't able to go. That was really disappointing. It was a pro-choice day of action. They served lunch. I didn't even get a free lunch. I was so busy. We heard from our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, on the House floor today. You'll see a picture of that at the end. I have a page staying with me from Butte High. She's awesome, and you'll see a picture of her with Abraham Lincoln. We had a blast motion today, so I'll explain that a little bit in a minute. And there were a ton of sportsmen dressed in bright orange vests there to support this blast motion. So on the House floor, we heard House Bill 171, which is a Medicaid fraud, waste, and abuse bill. And what it really does is it gives your taxpayer dollars to an ALEC affiliated company to to find fraud that the department already is finding. The Republicans that got up to be proponents of this bill clearly had pre-written testimony that they had not read before, and so I didn't know if the sponsor had provided that to them or if the company who stood to make a ton of money off of your tax dollars had just kindly provided that to them so they could stand up and read it. That's always entertaining. We heard House Bill 322, which is about grizzlies and livestock loss. I talked about this just the other day, that we added grizzlies to the list of reasons that folks can get reimbursed for a livestock loss. And now they want to add $400,000 more besides the $200,000 they already get to this livestock loss program. And there was no fiscal note handed out on the floor. It does cost $400,000. It clearly says it. I found the fiscal note online, and for the first time this session, the fiscal note just accidentally did not get handed out on the floor, and so it actually didn't even end up being a part of the debate, and I wondered about that. So at the end of our debate, the Republicans purposely put up these contentious bills, including one called House Bill 404, that they knew would cause a lot of debate and argument. So it would kind of build up this animosity between the two parties, and so that they could use that against us when we had this blast motion. So we had two bad healthcare bills, we had one other contentious bill, and we had House Bill 404. House Bill 404 took money away from a habitat management fund to pay for the block management fund. And the reason you saw us vote against that is because both of those things should be funded. You should not have to sacrifice one really good program to pay for another really good program. We have the money to do it. There's no reason to do this. They purposely put that on the agenda so we would argue against it, so that when this blast motion came, they would be able to say, you voted against 404 and now we're going to vote against this. So when a bill is tabled in committee, if the sponsor of the bill wishes to make a motion for it to still be heard on second reading in the House anyway, they can do that if they get 60 people out of 100, so 60% of the representatives on the floor to vote yes, we still want to hear that on the House floor even though the committee tabled it. It's called blasting it. So Representative Ellie Hill from Missoula had a corner crossing bill that said if you are a hunter or a sportsman or any person who is on public property and you get to this intersection of public and private checkerboard lands, you're allowed to literally jump from one section of public land to another section of public land without setting foot on any private land, and that's not considered trespassing. So she had tons and tons of people in the Capitol today, all wearing bright orange vests. You'll see a picture of Mr. Jacobson from Butte with me at the end of the video, and the gallery was full and they were standing up. They really wanted to have their presence known. And she did such a good job of saying, listen, this is not trespassing, be reasonable, support public access, if you vote no for this motion saying you will not even discuss this issue, you are voting against blue-collar sportsmen and you are voting for millionaire and billionaire landowners. There was a Republican representative that actually initially sponsored the bill with her and then in committee voted against it and stood up against it on the floor today. And his reasons, I'm not making this up, his reasons for voting against it were twofold. One is that if you own private property, the air above your property is also private property. And so if someone jumps through the air over your property, that's trespassing. Yeah, I just explained that correctly. That's truthfully what he said. Go watch the video. He also said that if you're using GPS to find out where you are, that it could have an error of plus or minus 5 feet. So while you think you're doing your best to not trespass and you think that you're going from public land to public land, you could be encroaching on private land up to 5 feet. Clearly 2 very excellent reasons to vote on a bill that totally restricts access to public lands. Really? Ellie did a great job, and this is going to be an interesting week. So I hope you guys are calling your representatives. I hope you're being heard by